Hello everybody, this is Diane. If you watched my video that was up on, I think it was Friday, you will have seen my video about UFOs, unfinished objects, where I talked about this journal and another one that I was working on for myself, and I hadn't finished them. They just kept getting set aside. So this one I started over 2 years ago, and I finished it. So you saw that video on Friday, and now I'm into the middle of the next week, and through the magic of television, it's done. So you're probably just going to see it one day after I showed the original unfinished book. But it's been several days, and I have completed it. As far as putting everything, sewing the pages and putting everything together, I will be decorating and things in it. So I'm hoping that if I don't spend too much time doing the flip through, I'll have time to decorate a page with you today. I have some supplies right here all ready to go. So this is obviously a Reader's Digest Complete Guide to Sewing, and it is long, or wide. It's very wide. It is 10.5 inches wide and a little over 8.5 inches high. There's some scratches on it. It's a vintage book, but I love this cover with all these sewing supplies. The back is identical, except this space here is filled with some additional sewing supplies. I wonder how long it took someone to line all those pins up like that. Well, I was hoping to find a piece of patchwork. I didn't know if I had a piece of patchwork fabric that would work, like someone was working on a quilt. But when I was looking in my fabrics, I found this piece, and I just grabbed it because this one has memories for me, and this is my journal. This was a fabric that my mother used for a tablecloth when we were camping, and it had holes in it, but and there's a stain. I think it's right there. It's just a dark spot right there. I was able to cut it where there's no holes, but I wouldn't have cared if there was a hole. I would have just put some lace or something over it because I wanted to use that. And so that's what I did. And although there's no pink really, that's some pink thread there, on this cover, I put this pink crochet trim on it because there's pink on the tablecloth. So inside, I didn't do anything to this. I will probably do some collaging on it. I don't know if you can tell, but it's just a very light blue striated pattern. And there are 3 signatures in here. This is a cardstock folder that I made, and I added this embroidered pillow top on it, just a piece of embroidered cloth, and it's a pocket. And so I just started tucking things in some of the pockets, not all of them, but there's a vintage envelope, a vintage bridge score sheet, and this antique check, 1886. There's a hole in it right there. I didn't know that was there. And then there's a little vintage gift tag there with a clown. It is so cute. I love the way that's painted. So I've done some decorating already. On this page, I sewed down some feed sack fabric and this image from a 1965, I think, Spiegel catalog, and this piece of lace. And I might add some more. I don't think I'll be doing a lot of journaling, like writing in this book, but I just want to collage things. And it's already fat, so it's going to thicken up. Here's another page. I didn't do anything to this page. Here's another page that I added some feed sack fabric and 2 ladies from that catalog. I'll be using some ladies from my 1969 Butterick sewing pattern catalog also. And this is from an old knitting book, and I folded it up so it's a pocket, and I put this card in. You may remember seeing that in a flea market haul. I just love the picture on that card. These birds were down lower, but I wanted them up so that they weren't, I didn't want them to damage the pocket. They're cute. There's two birds and a doggy barrette that were still on this card. Some scrapbook paper here. All of the pages were already cut and put into the journal. They were already assembled. I just had to add things to the pages. So I added this acetate piece and I glued a playing card to it and tucked this yarn sample card in there. I have this envelope, shopping list envelope, and there is a printable. I just got a set of these, this isn't one, printable linens, and I already forgot what shop it was. I can link it below in case you're interested, but it's got a lot of the little pieces that you can use for tuck spots and tags and things. So I used a few in this. You can see where I used scrapbook paper to connect pages together to make them a folio to fit into the signature. Here's a vintage sewing pattern. I love that. And it's a McCall's pattern. I sewed some bead sack fabric there, and just in here I tucked some vintage embroidery transfers that I might want to use to embellish the book when I'm decorating pages. So some of the pockets are just filled with things that I want to use elsewhere in the book. There's wallpaper here, and I sewed on one of these cards, playing cards. There's some Aida cloth and some fabric, little embellishment there, and it's the fabric forms a pocket, and in the pocket I tucked in one of these telegrams. I have two of these. This one's from 1949. They both have the same picture on them. It came in a scrapbook full of greeting cards that I got at a flea market, or an antique store or something. So I wanted to keep one for myself. And then this was just a page from a tatting book. And I added this Illinois Pennsylvania Railroad notebook paper or notepad paper just for journaling on that. Try to be gentle with all of my vintage stuff, like that telegram is kind of fragile. Here's a calendar page, and I added this fabric sample card to it with a decorative stitch. And the back of the calendar page had someone's writing on there. They wrote their work schedule. And I just glued a vintage X-Lines Pure Service receipt on it. This is from a sewing instruction book. And there's a photo sleeve here. I like this one that it opens at the top here, and I just added this postcard. I got this in a Happy Mail. It might have been, I don't remember, might have been from someone in Sweden. It's European anyway. And there was a hole here in the photo sleeve where it was in the album, and I just tied some floss through that. This is a fabric sample. I got this in a Happy Mail, and the sender told me in the letter she included that these pieces of fabric that she sent me came from a woman who made her own fabric. So this is woven by a person. So I think it was just a sample because it looked like it was finished off so that it wouldn't unravel. But I just thought it was so pretty, and I made it into a pocket. And sewed this. I think this is the last page I have from a pilot student's logbook. He was taking flight instruction and keeping records. On the back side of this, there's a lot more writing. Keeping records of his instruction and hours and all that stuff. That's just a sticky note pad. There's one of the digital linens. I put it up, sewed it on as a tuck spot, and there's a little piece of vintage fabric there. This is fun. It's a very old hook and eye card. And I couldn't figure out why this black thread was on it. But I think what happened was they used this card to wrap this black cord around, and then it tore and traveled up into there, so that's why it looks like it does. But I left it there. I thought it was interesting. And I just love the card. It's called Alice, and they're number 2 invisible eyes and hooks. Very bad condition. It's very torn around all the edges. So I glued it to a piece of cardstock so that I could put it on as a pocket and the edges would remain down. And this is one of the digital linen pieces. Some chenille here with a little shaped tag and a fancy stitch. I did a little fancy stitching there where I sewed the hinge to it. And this is a little embellishment piece that came with that the digital linen kit. And there's a piece inside. This is from a craft binder, so it's got some holes there. But I just sewed it to this page to make it wider. And I sewed this little tree flashcard on it as a pocket and just tucked in a couple of pages from some vintage notepads. Green Bay and Western Railroad and Wabash, Serving the Heart of America. I believe that was a moving company. I got several fun notepads in a bunch of stuff at a flea market toward the end of the season, I think. Now, flea market season is over, and I miss it. Here's another knitting book. It's the same page of that knitting book and folded up. So I will tuck something in there. And here I sewed on this unfinished piece of embroidery work. They stitched through when they were done for the day. They just put their needle through randomly and left the thread hanging so that they could come back in and finish it later. But I just left that there. I cut it because it was pretty long. But I think that blue is so pretty, and I added this vintage blue crochet piece that I've had for a while. And then in the pocket I tucked a book of blue stamps. I can collage in that book or write on those pages. And there's a nice white surface that I can collage on, and there's a piece of beadsack fabric on the edge with some more decorative stitching. This is the page from this craft book, and it has a piece of sewing pattern on it and some lace, and it is attached to this page to form a pocket. So I tucked this large card in here. This was used in a classroom. It's from 1980. I had a whole bunch of these big cards. So I've got lots of room for adding more images and collages. Love this apron pattern. I sewed it on as a pocket. Let this pretty needlework show. This is a page from the craft book. And I tucked in a couple of pages that I can use in the book if I want to. I can cut out images or do whatever I want with these and use them as collages and some more iron-on transfers. I love this. I wanted to put a little pocket here, and this was from a different needlework book, and it's a cross-stitch diagram, and it's so pretty, and it's purple. And then I had this purple birthday card, a vintage birthday card. Guess I can't open it all the way, it's sealed shut. Looks like a postage stamp got stuck on there. But because it's purple, I tucked it in there. I was thinking of putting something white in here, and I might, but to help it stand out from the page, because it kind of blends in with the page. So I might end up putting something white behind this card. Here is Architect's grid paper, and it's got a fabric strip and a piece of blue eyelet trim and this little, I think it's an Old Maid vintage card. Another craft binder page, and this was for knitting, I think. Knitting or, yeah, knitting clothing. And I just sewed a little pink merchandise tag on there and glued this part on. This is from a Daphne's Diary planner book. And I pulled out some of the things that I had created and put in my ready-made ephemera box. So this is one of them. And here is this little vintage piece that was made with vintage greeting cards. Some scrapbook paper and a couple of tickets and some trim. I have a whole book of these tickets that I got. And another page from this craft book, and there's some Vitek fabric up there, and this fabric flower applique that I sewed. Now this page was all done from when I started this journal over 2 years ago. Probably close to 3 years ago now. This is a fabric sample of some sheer fabric. I sewed 2 of them together so that it would be wide enough. And then I just added this yesterday, little patchwork piece that I had. A piece of beautiful wallpaper border. And I added this from the digital. And this was another of the pieces that I had made. I'll add some things to that little pocket there. It's got some tags I can write on. I just love the blue and the pink, you know, the turquoise and pink. So I wanted to include that in this journal. This is, when I make a journal for myself, I generally want to keep some of my favorite things. And then I feel more free to include them in journals for sale or in bundles that I sell, because I just want to make sure I get to keep some of the things. This is from a calendar from the 1960s. I just added this trim to it. Here's a large golden book of Cinderella. Disney's version of Cinderella. I just think the art is so pretty in that. And I included a vintage romper room flashcard with the Queen on it. This is open, so I'll tuck a tiny little something in there. It's a little tiny playing card that I sewed on there. And then I added a shopping stamp page. Some vintage eyelet there. I like the way it hangs out of the book. That's just a sticky note there that I can write on. This is a really fun scrapbook paper. All of these elements were just printed on the paper. This is sewn on it. It's an additional page, but right here, that was all one page, and I thought it was really fun. So I use it to extend this page, and I can journal on that. I got a bunch of numbers like you would put on your mailbox in a box of stuff at a flea market. So I just stuck one there for fun. The 7 doesn't mean anything special. The other side of the calendar, Vitek fabric. Lots of white space that I can do stuff with. Here's the other side of the sheer fabric, and I cut this out of that craft book with the cross-stitch designs. That's really beautiful. I believe it's a peony. And because it's sheer, so this showed through on this side, I added these pieces that I had in my embellishment binder. Perfect. This is fun. I've had this in my stash for a while, and I just sewed it across the top there. I added this acetate letter. It's got my last name initial there, and I tucked this flash card with a camera on it underneath there. And this is a little pocket that I received in a Happy Mail, and I just glued it on. This is how it was made. It's book page and some lace, some fabric, and a little fussy cut or die cut, and I'll be able to tuck something in there, something narrower than this, but and this is something I had made a while ago. Very simple. I glued these things to buy and things to do lists on the back of this that knitting book page. Here's the vellum architect paper with some flea market. Why do I keep saying flea market? Starts with F. Feed sack fabric at the top. And this came out of a mini album that I made years ago. I took the mini album apart, and I think this is the only piece I had left. It was cute, but it was a problem piece because it was too big to include in most journals that I make. So I put it in here, and it had these tags in it. And then the third signature has another folder that I made out of cardstock and a candle wicked piece of linen, and I just tucked this foreign money in there. Just sewed a guest check onto that page and added this little scrap of a linen that I had. It was just this shape. I don't remember what I used the rest of it for, but I didn't want to get rid of that piece with the embroidery on it, and then I added that embroidered ribbon. This is a Kate Greenaway page that I sewed on. The other side of it is on the other side of this page. So it's a pocket, and then I tucked in this adorable little birthday card with the fuzzy lamb. It's a little bit crumpled up there, but I don't care. It's just so cute. And it's 1951. It's older than me. Isn't that sweet? From Grandma Sturdivant. That was also in that scrapbook full of greeting cards. I got 2 scrapbooks of greeting cards at that one place. And man, I had so much fun with those greeting cards. This is just a random piece that I got in a box of things. And it's a digital in my, I think it's in the Tags and Tickets digital kit. But I love it, and I wanted to keep the original, so I sewed it on here. It's something from the Necktie Tyler, to Necktie Tyler, the blind tie salesman. So this might have been a label for sending payments in or something. And that's pink parchment paper. Another knitting book page and fabric ruffle, just a beautiful piece of fabric. And on this side I sewed a vintage prescription because I wanted to make sure I kept one of these. I've had these for a long time. I don't know how many I have left. Scrapbook paper, some fabric and lace up there, another piece of acetate, and I tucked in this piece of ephemera. 1919, new telephone toll rates. So this was probably printed in 1918 because it's effective January, yes, announced December 18th, 1918. This does not change the rates or handling of calls within the local service area. But it's just about your phone rates. So I tucked that in there. And I added this tiny little thank you card here that can be, well, I guess I could write on it if I put something behind it to brace it, but it's mostly there for decoration. Scrapbook paper and the craft book page and some fabric and a vintage sewing pattern. This one is just sewn down. It's not a pocket. But I think that I will add a pocket here that I can tuck something in. I wanted to leave this so I could see it. But I can cover this part up. Except I really like that black. I was having trouble with my sewing machine. You can see it in these stitches, so maybe I will cover that up. But because I started this like 3 years ago, like I said, and I gave it up. I gave up working on this because of that sewing machine issue. And I have a new sewing machine since then. This is a pocket. You could buy these pockets, and it's an inside pants pocket, like the front pocket of a man's work pants. So when he got holes in his pockets, you could remove those pockets and replace them with these. And I took the stitches out right up here so that I could open it up, and I tucked in a 1948 letter, 3-cent postage. It does have the letter in there on pink paper. And I decorated it with a little journaling card and a little girl cut from my pattern book from the 1960s and an applique. And I don't know what I'll do to the back, but I will do something. I wanted to make sure I kept one of these Art Deco looking playing cards, so I sewed her to this gorgeous wallpaper. And here I just paper clipped a little tally card. And I tucked in this, petunias. I sewed some chenille up there and added little scraps of ledger paper to journal on. This is a gorgeous calendar. And on the back of it was just white, so I added some vintage pieces. This is a receipt for dues from local union number 7353, and then a vintage receipt and a little girl cut from my sewing book, and then this cut from a vintage children's book. And in here I have a blue inventory tag. This is an envelope, but I glued the flap down and just cut the end open. Here is a craft book page and a children's dictionary page. There's a little tuck spot here. Look at this. I have something right here that I can tuck in there. And I folded the dictionary page over. So I added a piece of feed sack fabric and a Holly Hobby playing card. I added a vintage pom-pom here. And there's a pocket here in which I placed some more of those, one of the notepad papers that I have from Illinois Central Railroad, and a game score sheet, body language, 1975. This box had pictures of Lucille Ball all over the front of it, making funny faces. This is open, so I'll have to tuck something in there. And I added this craft book, the binder page sheet. I love that gingham apron. So I can open this up and collage here, and I can tuck something in there. I tucked this vintage piece. I've had this for quite a while, but I just love this image of the little girl looking at the bluebirds. It's called In Bluebird Land. It doesn't have a date on it. Well, it's a calendar, so it's 1948. That's pretty old. John Payne passed away February 7th, 1948. He died at 11:30. That's sad. And the other part of that pocket, and it's open here again. I glued on this pocket that I just made so I can think I can tuck something in there. Yeah, I can put something in there, but the top part isn't open. This is a label for your replacement pocket. Again, fabric, a sewing tissue sewn onto this, and there's a little piece of trim here. And in this one, it's a full page pocket. I put this little file folder that I had. Again, I worked on this when my sewing machine was bad. Just a little playing card there. Oh, I can put some more yarn in this hole. There's a photo sleeve here, and I tucked in an antique advertising card. And then there's a little flash card here of a library, one of my favorite things. And I just tucked in some cards, a Scrabble card, D for Diane, and some pages from a vintage little pocket notebook from the 1950s. And this is for bridge, table 2, couple 1. It's a tally. It was an unusual one. It's got holes in it. I tucked that in there, and then this little tag. So that's a fun page. Some more bridge score sheet. And just some pretty fabrics, some of my favorite fabrics. And there's that other Kate Greenaway page, and there's space in there. The cardstock folder at the end. This is a paper clip that I made from an old Brock's Milk Chocolate Stars package. I'm glad I have a place for this, because my sisters and I used to love these Brock's Chocolate Stars and can't find them anymore. So this was in an old magazine. So I made a paper clip, and I get to keep that. And I had made this quite some time ago with an old bingo card and an image from an old magazine. And it's got a journaling spot on the back. And that's what I've gotten done in it so far. Now I have about 15 minutes. I think it was in the middle signature I wanted to decorate a page, because the middle signature is thinner than the other pages. Might have been this page. And I had these items that I wanted to use, or some of them anyway. I wanted to use this turquoise bingo paper. It's not a card, it's a paper. And I just got these from Kitty Witty Paper Crafts. And she has these and other items that would go really, really nicely with these colors. So I wanted these because of the wonderful pastel colors. I've had these in orange that I got at a flea market. So there's a turquoise, and there's pink and yellow and green. And then she has a lot of other, she has very retro things in her shop. And she has a lot of other items that would go nicely with these. But I just got these this time. Library cards she has in pretty colors. So I want to use that. And then I found this tally card because the colors go well with it. I pulled this, I don't even know what's in there, but I grabbed it. And then these stickers I got at a flea market. And I don't use them, but I thought with the blue, it's perfect, right? And I have this pink applique. But I don't know what I'll use yet. Oh, and I was thinking I wanted to put a little girl on here, or a lady from my sewing pages. Let me grab them. I'll be right back. I'm here. I'm sorry, guys. Forgot to get that part. So I've got these images of little girls from the sewing book. I also made a copy of the page that I cut up yesterday, because it just made me sick to cut through. So these are on the back of that. But I can't use these in anything that I sell because they're not old enough to be out of copyright, but I can use them in my own collages. That little girl in pink would be cute, or this one. But I have some ladies too, like maybe her with that blue, and she could lean on the bingo card maybe. Oh, this one is cool. Either one of those, because I'm using pink and blue. Okay, so I think I'm going to use one of those ladies, but I'm going to make a copy of that before I cut them. So I'll just kind of figure out where they're going to go. And then collage around them. I could use them both. So yeah, I definitely want to use her in some sort of collage, so I'll make a copy of it. So let's see. I think I'll use the pink lady because I have a lot of blue with that and with these stickers. I don't think I'm going to be able to finish this collage on camera because I won't be able to glue stuff down without having her. This is cute, this little blue. Oh, it's a little calendar from 1956. Happy birthday, your sweetheart, Jerry. It's got blue and pink. Oh, well, it's good I know where these are now. I don't think these are what I want to use in it. So I guess what I'm going to have to do is come back and either do the collage on camera another day or show you what I did. Oh, I could use one of these too if I wanted to. So I'm just going to set these things aside. And are you intrigued now to see what I'm going to do with all of these? I also have some other items. I'm going to go through these and just set aside, put some in an envelope or something to keep with this to use. This is just a collage of scraps of paper that someone sent me in a Happy Mail. Another tally card, things to buy and things to do, some more iron-on transfers, some pieces that I made that I might use in it. Let's see, I think I wanted that one, but probably not those. And I'll probably use one of these, but not both. These little tuck spots that I made. And that, and this quilt page, and then I can cut some of these elements out and make journal cards or tags with them. These came out of, I think these all came out of those Christmas books that I just used for Christmas, the big art craft books. So these I will put in an envelope and some other items, like some of the images from my catalogs. So they'll be all handy and ready for me to use. The other UFO that I had, oh, here it is this one. And this one is also for me, the Child's Garden of Verses. This one didn't get finished because it got lost. I was making several little golden book journals, and this one I was going to keep. And I kind of set it aside to finish up the ones I was going to sell, and then it got put away with stuff. It was buried in scrapbook paper. I found it months later. So now I am ready to get back to work on it and finish this one up. So that will be the next finished UFO. It will no longer be a UFO the next time you see it. So I hope that that was fun for you. I hope it inspires you to get out some of your UFOs. I don't normally start a journal and not finish it, but because these were for me and not for my shop, I left them. And I don't like doing that. I don't like having unfinished things hanging over my head. So I thought I would just take this week to work on these two. It's getting late on Wednesday afternoon though, so I have Thursday, Friday, and Saturday to work on this one. We'll see what happens. And I've got to go to Horseheads, half an hour away, to take my laptop to get it fixed. So I'm having trouble with my laptop. I have a backup. I have my old one that I can use when I need to, but it is much slower. But I do have it, so hopefully I'll be able to upload this video. So anyway, all of that talking, I hope that you enjoyed the flip through of this really fun domestic art style journal that I made, and I'm going to have fun playing in it, and it's going to get really, really fat. So we'll play in it on camera sometimes. Would you like that if I decorated the pages on camera? I will see you in the next video. Have a creative day today. Bye-bye.